Modern men have been lied to. They've been peddled an outdated idea that doesn't apply to them. The world has changed, but cultural perceptions haven't. And this single idea is keeping men alone, thinking something is wrong with them, and that they aren't deserving of love. That idea is this, that relationships, they should just happen naturally, which simply put, is no longer true. The world changed as of 4 years ago. We entered a new era in modern living, and people haven't noticed because the men that do realize this, they go on to be successful and have a family. But the men that don't realize this, they will end up sat alone in a retirement home on their birthday, knowing that nobody is coming to see them. And all they can do is wish and look back that they'd realised that this change had happened and they needed to do something about it. So, on Valentine's Day, this is my gift to men out there. And it's your option to choose which of these two futures do you want? Because you don't need to take my word for it. I'm going to show you that these two eventualities, that is what the future holds for men, and why you can no longer just wait for relationships to naturally happen. To start this, I'm going to introduce one of my favourite quotes of all time. There are no solutions, only trade-offs. For the past 20 years, we've consistently made this trade, that we have traded interconnectivity for convenience, that we identified that our interactions between people contained some friction, so we have decided to save time, make it more convenient. You no longer need to go to a restaurant. You can just get Uber Eats. You no longer need to go to a video store. We've now got Netflix. You don't even need to go to work because you can just work from home and use Zoom calls. In each of those scenarios, there used to be buckets of volume. We had these centralized hubs where people would gather together and have a volume of interactions. The thing is now, like so many things, we're going decentralized. We live a decentralized life with our own unique hubs in our homes, in our apartments, away from everyone else. And this all leads us to my next quote from Alex Hormozy, that volume negates luck. And in all of those scenarios, we had so much volume of just those innocuous interactions that could become something. We didn't need to be lucky because we were constantly interacting with new people. And if you even think of what was the most common way that people used to meet, it was through friends. But even this is taking a huge knock. 30 years ago, 55% of men had 6 or more friends. Now, that number has halved to 27%. Our social circles are shrinking. And then, even if you consider, what do we do with those social circles? We don't see them as often. We don't interact as much because we have the internet. So once again, our volume is plummeting, but simultaneously, our ability to communicate, our social skills, they're falling down the wayside, and that's only going to speed up and continue. Another facet is family. Our families are shrinking. So what we've created in this modern living is a place where there is no volume. And as per the quote, if we have no volume, we then simply rely on luck. And for any man out there that has been on a night out, they've gone out to a club with the idea of meeting a girl and getting lucky. Anytime he decided to rely on luck, that he wasn't going to go actively speak to girls, maybe one will just fall into his lap. Well, guess what happens to him? He's the guy that ends up in the kebab shop at 4 a.m. all alone. Because, simply put, for men, relying on luck is it's a failing option. Unless you're the miraculous 1%, which so many masculinity pages peddle of, no, you don't want to pay attention to relationships. Just go for success. Look at Andrew Tate. He has so many girls. Well, that's all well and good for the Bugatti driving Andrew Tate. But what about the other 99%? What are they going to do? Well, They need to take an active interest, because otherwise it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen naturally. And I got to experience this recently because I moved to a new city. I didn't have any of my usual social setup. I didn't have any friends there. I didn't live with anyone else. I didn't work with anyone else. And it truly was challenging. Like, this is my job, and I still found it very difficult. And the only thing that made it work for me was what I call deliberate action. I got myself to go out. I forced myself to go meeting people, making friends, meeting people on the streets, and introducing myself. And that deliberate action is what changed things for me. And without that, it doesn't happen for you. I'm so sorry that this is the case. That if you just sit there, it won't. This probably isn't the first year that you've been single on Valentine's Day, and we repeat those patterns, and it doesn't change. It doesn't just fall into your lap, which sucks, because we want to have that romanticism about relationships, that maybe you'll just meet a girl at the freaking supermarket. But simply put, that isn't the world that we live in anymore. Times have changed, and if you don't want to be that guy that misses out on the experience of a lifetime, then he has to realize that relationships just don't happen naturally, and he's going to have to actually engage with the world. And I've broken this down into the 3 ways that I think a guy should start to develop in order to have a chance at engaging with the world properly. And the first one is cold approach. That it's the great equalizer. If you're struggling to meet girls, you don't have that many interactions, then it comes down to meeting girls during the day. It levels the playing field, because you're already communicating that you're brave by going up and speaking to her. And it isn't like at a club where she's already got so many guys hunting round her. Fundamentally, it's not on a dating app where she's getting 100 likes a day. It's like you go up and you just meet as people. This is the approach that I took. And yeah, you're not successful all the time, but I got 2 dates pretty quick out of that, and those girls were great. And it's all because I had the bravery to start creating that volume, because that's what we're trying to do here. We don't need luck if we can create volume. And cold approach, walking up and simply saying, hi. That's all it takes, and it can start to contribute to this volume. Secondly, it's reintroducing scale to our social circles. If you only have like 2 friends, maybe they're already in a relationship and they're not available that much, and you don't meet up in person. Maybe your friends are all online based. You have very little scale to your network. You're not going to come into contact with all these new different people. A man fundamentally needs a network. Part of his value as a person is how well connected is he? And starting to branch out and meet new people. Maybe you start to go out with some people from work. Maybe you make an effort with the people that you live near. But reintroducing this community and increasing that volume is one of the major things that can help a guy. Thirdly, that is joining clubs. It's joining social clubs and doing the things that you're passionate about, that you want to do. For me, I love running clubs. I absolutely love running. I'm a loser for it. I love it. It's my bliss place. And then I'll go to these clubs and there's people there that I can interact with, potential new friends, and even potential girls that I can meet. That these are your primary 3 options, because believe me, you cannot recreate this volume with Tinder. It isn't the same. Tinder does not want you to find a partner. It's not interested in that, because if you find a partner, you leave the app and then they no longer can make money from you. Your goals and their goals are simply not aligned. And I know this, it sucks to hear, because the cultural perception of this is like, if you're going out looking for a girlfriend and stuff, people don't like it. They think it's strange, but that's just because cultural perception has not caught up to the reality of the world, that we don't live in a time now where everyone has the volume of interactions to meet people. We traded that in for convenience, which that's another debate if we think that was a good trade or not, maybe. But simply put, the evidence is what it is. We don't have enough interactions now to get lucky, to have those times where, oh, you went to your friend's birthday party and there was a friend of a friend who was female. You met her, you chatted to her, you had a great time. Or you went to see your cousin and her friends were around and you met one of them. None of this happens anymore. The new girl at work, none of it happens. So it's maybe this is the good message from this. You might not be that bad of a guy. Like, you don't have to think that just because you're single, it's because you're not worthy, you're not good enough. You might be pretty great, but you just have fuck all volume. Like, your marketing is terrible. You just need to put yourself in front of enough people. So if you don't want to be single next Valentine's Day and you don't want to be alone forever, be one of the few men that realize this, that relationships, they are now something to actually put in work. They are something that you need to commit to find what will be one of the best elements of your life. And the reason I'm so hard on this is because they've done every study imaginable on happiness. And what it is that it always comes down to, it's not how much status or wealth you built up. It's not your achievements. It always comes down to the quality of your relationships. And we have traded that in so hard. So if you want to be the few that feel successful and have a quality life, be the ones that start to take agency about their relationships.